You are now entering Coal Country.
So we got Lums in here. We got to do the bolder Braindead takes. And which one do you want to pull up first, Tyler? We got
I wanna pull up the one that I am typing right now. Which
all right, go ahead and cook.
I'm typing so fast.
He's trying so hard to get it up on screen. We got some interesting ones in here too to talk about anyway. There we go.
This is my bold or brain dead take, which is what I was going to say while we were working on the top 25. The Big 12, in my opinion, is closer to the SEC and the Big 10 than the ACC is to the Big 12. Outside of their quote-unquote big brands, which is typically Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, but Florida State and Clemson have looked really rough. And so Miami is their only big brand, or their only, team that's playing to a national title contender level, and even they lost to Louisville. And so this probably is brain dead because I don't think the gap is that big between the Big 12 and ACC, and I don't think it's as big as people make it out between the SEC and Big 10. But just a thought to work out: is the Big 12 closer to the SEC and Big 10 than the ACC is to the Big 12?
I say it's brain dead just because I think the ACC and Big 12 are closer. Except the bottom teams, like Loams was saying, like Syracuse and Boston College, like those teams don't even really compare even brand wise to West Virginia. They might be a better team head to head. I don't know. We don't get to play them, which kind of sucks, honestly, with our schedule. But it's hard to tell. I think the ACC is closer just because normally Clemson's good, Miami's good. Normally Florida State is, above decent. So,
what sucks is we have no points of reference for the big boy teams, so to speak. Like Tech didn't get to play Miami or Georgia Tech or Florida State or Clemson. BYU didn't get to play one of the top teams. Cincinnati or Houston didn't get to play one of the top teams. The point I was going to bring up is that this year the Big 12 is 6-1 versus the ACC. The only loss is Colorado losing to Georgia Tech, who currently sits at 8-0 by 7.
It was close
Mind
game.
you, Colorado is probably the third worst team in the Big 12 right now. West Virginia is undoubtedly the second worst team in the Big 12 right now, and they beat a Pittsburgh team that is looking to compete for a national title, or not a national title, but an ACC title down the stretch. I mean, Pitt, other than West Virginia, against ACC competition, has looked solid.
Yeah.
Your other wins are Baylor against SMU, TCU against SMU, BYU against Stanford, TCU, and UCF against North Carolina. So you don't have any of the big boys in the Big 12 playing any of the big boys in the ACC outside of Georgia Tech playing Colorado. But again, that was close. Georgia Tech is right now the favorite to win the ACC. Colorado is bottom 3 in the Big 12.
I was also going to make the point of, look at the teams that we just added a couple years ago, dude. They're at the top of the conference. Cincinnati, brought in from the American, is well ranked. Utah, again, like we were on the bubble about having them ranked. Do you guys want them ranked? They're good, undoubtedly, whether they're ranked or not. Utah's right up there. BYU, undefeated in their, third year in the Big 12. Colorado isn't really good this year, obviously, but it's a huge brand now with Coach Prime. You can't deny that. So the teams that we brought in have worked. Yeah, Cincy, dude.
In the past 2 years, you've had Arizona State win the Big 12. You've had Utah and BYU be close to winning the Big 12 and currently sits undefeated. Utah currently sits around the bubble on top 25. Colorado was competing for the Big 12 last year and had the Heisman winner. Houston, Cincinnati are both firmly in the top 25. Whereas the ACC edition, Stanford, Cal, and SMU. SMU obviously played for an ACC title last year, but this year has struggled, and Stanford and Cal have looked like two of the worst teams in the ACC for the past 2 years.
They went up 7-0 on Miami, guys. They competed with Miami for a half.
They went up 7-0 on Miami.
Oh, my Lord. So, yeah, I think Big 12's better than ACC, flat out. I'm confident saying that. Now, whether we're close to the SEC, Big Ten is another conversation because the worst in the SEC, I think, if you consider Mississippi State still lower down in the SEC ring, even Arkansas is down there too. Like, I think they could compete with most Big 12 teams, 100%. Those lower SEC teams. Big Ten, I don't know. You got lower guys down there like Purdue. Questionable, but I think the guys at the top of those conferences are undoubtedly they're at the top for a reason. They're just better. So that's my take.
I think the Big Ten, more than any other conference, has an extreme gap between the top very few select teams and everybody else.
I was going to say that.
I think if you take the average of each conference, I think the Big Ten in particular is pulled up so high just by a couple teams each year. I think the SEC is similar, but not nearly as dramatic. Whereas I think the Big 12, you don't see a lot of undefeated teams because maybe you don't have the untouchable team every year, right? Like Alabama typically, or Ohio State typically, or Oregon last year. But the teams that are good in the Big 12, they can be really good and you still drop a game because your competition is closer in skill level to you. And that's not to say that you're worse, but that the competition within the conference is better. And to your point about like Mississippi State being on the lower end, they're 4-4 overall, but they beat Arizona State, who was the conference champion last year. You drop games. No team is untouchable typically. I mean, you're going to have a couple undefeated teams here and there. But I think it's a lot closer than people typically argue. But I think it's a good take. I think the ACC, especially this year, I think the ACC is pretty weak. I think Georgia Tech is probably the worst 8-0 Power 4 team. I don't know. I mean, that's my take on it. But I mean, you could argue, like you mentioned earlier. You make the same argument. Florida State beat Alabama. They're 0-4 in conference. So maybe the ACC is so much better than the SEC, right? Obviously, we don't think that's the case. But teams drop games, and you can't point at that and then say, oh, well, actually, this is exactly how it works, because that's just not how football works. You got to play the games. I think the Big 12 overall is a better conference. So I'm with you.
I was going to bring up this has nothing to do with the take. I'm going to say it's a bold take, not a brain dead take, but I agree with Matt I do think the Big 12 is better than the ACC, but I don't know if it's so convincing that I would say that the Big 12 is closer to the SEC, Big 10 than the ACC is, or than the ACC is the Big 12.
Right.
I think it's kind of linear and it mixes and matches a little bit. But they're all closer than what most people make them out to believe, which is why I think that an 8-0 BYU and 8-0 Georgia Tech should be above a 7-1 Alabama and a 7-1 Georgia. The note you made about the Big 10 and the SEC being very different in terms of the SEC seems somewhat balanced from top to bottom, whereas the Big 10, there's a significant gap between the top and the bottom. A&M, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Vandy, those are your top contenders in the SEC. Arkansas, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Auburn. I'm excluding Kentucky because Kentucky is on a whole other level of bad. But four that I mentioned it almost feels like they can go toe to toe with anybody in the SEC to an extent. Like Mississippi State, for the most part, has played close games against the teams that are looked at as good teams in the SEC. Arkansas played a close game against Ole Miss, played a close game against A&M. Auburn played a close game against Georgia, and if not for a couple of calls. And then you look at the Big Ten, and you have Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon in the top. I would say those are firmly the top three. I would say a significant drop-off from Tier 1 to Tier 2, which is, Iowa, Michigan, USC, Washington, maybe Illinois. And then you look at the bottom. They have 4 teams that have 0 conference wins. Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State, and Penn State are all completely defeated in conference. And I mean, especially Wisconsin. Like, if you look at Wisconsin, the level of bad that Wisconsin, I don't know how Luke Fickell has a job, but the level of bad that Wisconsin is this year is unbelievable. Scored 17 against Miami. That's one of their 2 wins. Scored 42 against Middle Tennessee. That's their 2nd win. Since then, 38-14 against Bama. They lost. 27-10 against Maryland. They lost. 24-10 against Michigan. They lost. 37-0 against Iowa. They lost. 34-0 against Ohio State. They lost. 21-7 against Oregon. They lost. I mean, Iowa and Ohio State alone beat them 71-0. So the level
the Watt family built Wisconsin. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, Wisconsin is a respectable football program most of the time.
Right.
And so just the bottom tier of the Big Ten is so much worse than the top of the Big Ten, whereas at least the Big 12 and the SEC seem somewhat balanced.
Yeah, so the last time Wisconsin was competitive, was that Russell Wilson? Like, legitimately?
They were top
No,
10 in 2019.
I don't know
if that was
they
the
had
last.
respect with Graham Mertz, no? Like, they were respected as a decent football program in very recent history.
I mean,
they just seemed to have
Well,
fallen
that's
off
why
a
I said
cliff.
they're normally respectable because, I mean, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
like as early as 2019. I'm going to check if they've had any significance since then. No, not really. Their best season since 2019 is 2021, and they went 9-4. 2019 they were 10-4 and top 10 at one point.
all right.
They finished 11th.
It makes sense. Wisconsin is storied then. I mean, granted, I don't know all of my Badger ball, but makes sense. So,
I don't know if they've ever gone winless in conference play. Because that I don't see a way where they win at all. I mean, maybe if they had Minnesota at home, but they don't. And
They have
Minnesota,
not gone winless in
like-
conference play since 1990 when they went 1-10, 0-8.
where's the battle of the rodents? The Golden Gophers versus the Badgers.
PJ Fleck to LSU.
We are totally rambling on this first Boulder Braindead take, so we'll have to do the other ones kind of quick. But I feel
this is what the pod's about, dude. We're just yapping.
we should make. I mean, a toilet bowl needs to exist. The toilet bowls need to exist. Who doesn't want to watch Purdue versus Wisconsin?
Because you're going to get like a quarterback like Scott Keen as the starting quarterback because no one's going to
And
want to
that
play.
is college football to its core. I want to see.
And that's not
Scott
even supposed to be
Keen
disrespect towards
run
Scott
wild.
Keen. But like you're going to get like your 5th or 6th string players playing. Like
Tom Brady was 7th on the depth chart at Michigan. That's all I gotta say.
I think the bottom 2 teams in conference play of each conference, if they didn't play, should play every year during bowl season, and the winner, I don't know. We can figure out.
A toilet bowl playoff would be awesome.
We would have. Oh my gosh, Florida State has 0 conference wins as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't think who would it be in the SEC or ACC? North Carolina and Boston College.
Yeah, probably.
Big 12 would be us versus Oklahoma State. Big 10 would be Purdue, Wisconsin. Michigan State is in the mix as well, and I guess Penn State to that extent. And then the SEC would be Kentucky versus Arkansas, and I think Arkansas is winning firmly.
Dude, Kentucky Arkansas feed families.
Kentucky needs to learn to respect themselves more and just get Mark
I think
Stoops out of there.
Kentucky would have a shot to win that game.
No,
has Kentucky played Georgia yet this year?
Kentucky played.
they did. They lost
Texas
35.
and only lost by 3 in overtime.
That's because Texas is bad.
Okay, but that doesn't mean Kentucky is like an unwinning team. I mean,
They are
obviously
an
they are
unwinning
so
team.
far, but it doesn't mean it's impossible for them to win a football game.
I think Kentucky is terrible and need to get rid of Mark Stoops. Have some respect for yourself.
They'd still kick the crap out of us.
That
If we
brings us
played
to
them.
our next bold of brain dead, considering Mark Stoops could be fired. Over under. This was my bold of brain dead earlier in the year. I think most of you said the under, and I took the over.
No one who saw Brian Kelly getting fired this year.
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
It was like a distant possibility, but I mean, like they didn't look good at all.
We sit at
they
3.
seriously underperformed their expectations, I should say.
We sit at 3. Sam Pittman, Brian Kelly, and Billy Napier have all lost their ability to coach a football program if they ever had it. And we have a couple on the hot seats.
Hugh
Shane
Freeze?
Beamer, Hugh
Hugh
Freeze,
Freeze is probably going to be the next
Mark
one.
Stoops.
You say Mark Stoops, but like Kentucky has showed their unwillingness to move on from mediocrity. So I don't know.
Sooner or later, they got to pull the trigger.
I agree, sooner or later, but I mean, like, I won't. I got to see it to believe it at this point.
Well, I don't disagree, but I'm just saying he is in the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think there's
who we
much
got.
to talk about here. I don't think there's much to talk about because the over's hitting 100%.
Well, so
We're waiting
Lock
for
it
Hugh
in.
Freeze.
It's got to come down to Beamer Ball, and Hugh Freeze if Kentucky is as unwilling as Matt thinks they will be. I'm going to say that both of them get it by the end of the year.
Dude, the over-under could be 5.5, like our win total preseason.
Ball knower.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm going to say it.
I don't think there's much more to talk about with that. Like the
Yeah, we
over's
just
hitting,
wanted to bring it
so-
back up because it was bold or brain dead at the time, and right now it looks very likely to happen.
Yeah.
So
So,
now we'll bring up something that's a little more.
very
Everybody
brain
give
heavy
their
take.
does the over hit? Does one more SEC coach get the can?
Yes.
Matt, either or.
I don't know, man. It
So
feels like
Auburn's
it's easier to
wins.
let go of a coach in this day and age. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say it happens.
I'll tell you, no matter what happens, there will be at least one more coaching job open, whether they get fired or not. Because there's been the Steve Sarkisian NFL coaching rumors. Lane Kiffin has, 6 jobs on the table, and all he has to do is pick which one he wants. Somebody is another opening will occur, whether or not it's via they leave voluntarily or get canned. I'm going to go the over.
Yeah,
This
I
year's
think,
coaching carousels could be crazy.
Very, very crazy.
Yeah.
This is my personal Boulder Brain Dead.
Will Navy make the college football playoff? I'm not going to say there's not a path, but unless I don't know. They have Notre Dame, which I think they lose. You have to beat Memphis on the road as well, and I actually don't think that happens. So if Navy goes 10-2, I don't think they have a path to do it.
So I just pulled up Navy's schedule. Their next game, November 1st, at UNT. Then they're at Notre Dame. Then they host South Florida. Then they're at Memphis. Then the Army-Navy game.
Are you
They're
doubting
not making the playoffs.
group? It sounds
Nah.
like you're not being very patriotic.
I'm more patriotic than you'll ever be. They're not making the playoffs. Go Army.
Thank you. Yeah, go Army. Sink
Hey,
Navy.
I think their schedule is the exact reason they do make the playoff. Sooner or later, they have to play tough teams to get the strength of schedule that USF and Memphis have right now. That end of the year schedule sets up perfectly to do so. If you play Notre Dame at least semi-close, like within 2 to 3 scores close, don't get blown out. Whatever
I don't
you
know,
do,
but
don't get 60 put on you.
you lose to a UNT team led by a former fry cook next week. It's not going to look great.
I'm honestly, out of all the games, I'm most worried about that one. But if they beat North Texas, USF, and Memphis, which is doable, it is doable. Tough, but doable.
Memphis lost to UAB, and South Florida lost to a Memphis team that lost to UAB. So,
and guess who Navy beat? UAB. Give me the midshipman as the G5 representative.
Teams are not untouchable. You're going to drop a game. Those teams are not.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to drop a game, and that game is going to be to playoff Notre Dame.
They're not all going to drop games to Navy. It's not Navy's game to win. It's their game to lose.
And Navy's going to beat them.
All right, buddy.
I doubt Navy will get 1, but there's no way they get 2 of 4. There's no way.
So you're saying, well, they have 5, not 4.
Well,
they
throw away
have
the
5.
Army game because we'll see how that goes. I think that's their best possible game to win.
So you don't think that they can go 2-2 through the next 4 games? You think at the very best they go 1-3?
I think
proud
it's
of them to
possible.
get 1 win. I don't think there's a chance they go 2 for 2 of 4.
I think if you're drawing the line at going 2-2 through the next 4 games, then like their chance to make the playoffs is already gone. So
That's where I'm standing.
I'm not drawing the line. I'm saying they go 3-1 through the next.
There's
4.
my line. My line's 2-2 at best, and I don't think it happens. I don't think they get 1.
So you're saying
there's no shot they get 2. That's my take. I mean,
I'm an American Patriot, and you
could be an American Patriot and support freaking the Coast Guard Academy, brother.
I'm rooting for Air Force.
I respect you, Navy, and you are going to prove these haters wrong.
Not a hater.
Go crazy.
Not a Navy hater.
You're a hater. You are a hater. You are a certified hater.
I think it is certainly possible Navy goes 2-2, but I don't think they go more than 2-2. And if they're 10-2, they aren't making the playoff.
What if? Okay, what about this then? What if they go 2-2 through that stretch, but one of the wins is at Notre Dame? Notre Dame has a fluke game like NIU.
Well, then it's weird because if you lose to North Texas but beat Notre Dame, like what does that say about your consistency?
Let's say that what's the best circle of suck scenario? They beat Notre Dame and Memphis.
Carleton State's better than us.
Let's say they beat Notre Dame and South Florida, but they lose to North Texas and Memphis. What happens then?
They don't make the playoff.
Well, they have a worse.
Hold on now. Hold on.
They have
10-2. 10-2. They would be 11-2 because they have to win the conference championship game. 11-2. American Conference champion with a win over Notre Dame on the road. That is better than any other Group of 5 resume.
Yeah, but you lose to North Texas.
But you're inventing that in your head, and you could literally say that about any other Group of 5 conference.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm asking a question. Okay, who is your G5 representative? If you're going to dismiss the thought process entirely, who is your G5 representative?
That will not be apparent until week 11.
No crap. It's a prediction. Say it. Say your G5 representative.
Delaware makes a New Year's
Carleton
6
State.
You are a buffoon. Get off my show.
Delaware makes a New Year's 6 bowl. Dude,
I think it's a tight race.
It is a tight race. I think we should be watching that more than who gets the first round buys. I think we should be paying more attention to who's going to make it in the bottom of the bracket. That's the way more entertaining race to watch.
Let's move on. Navy, I believe in you. Prove the haters wrong, especially Matt Loms because he's a chicken and he doesn't want to name his G5 representative. Tulane.
All right, we're done.
James Franklin. This is Ian's. I'm going to let him go.
We'll win a national championship with Tulane.
Dude, it's happening. I think James Franklin. I was going to say, I think James Franklin, wherever he chooses to go next, which he may actually get one of these big SEC job openings after that interview he did on game day. It would not surprise me one bit. I think it is possible that where James Franklin chooses to go next, provided it's in the Power 4 somewhere, he can and will have the ability to win a national championship. I think wherever he goes in the Power 4 next, he will finally shake off the stigma of not being able to win the big games. Because if you're in a conference like the SEC over the Big Ten, and especially if you're taking over a mid-SEC team and, not, Alabama or a team like that, you're going to have more chances to prove yourself. And I think James Franklin will have the ability to prove that he can win bigger games.
Okay. I'm gonna say Braindead because I don't think he wins it either, no matter where he goes. He can't win the big game. But I'm gonna say it even more.
You on Twitter too much.
He can't win the big game. That's just how it be. More so because I think he lands at Virginia Tech, and I don't know if he can win one at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech has definitely moved down in terms of like a program.
That's if he lands at Virginia Tech, though.
Well, of course.
That's the thing.
I think it's more of a personal problem for him not being able to win at Penn State than a Penn State problem. So yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think he'll win a national championship.
He's gonna end his career with a ring.
I think it's possible if he gets an
I think-
SEC job.
I think Penn State should hire Clark Lee, and he should just go back to Vanderbilt.
Dude, who's coach at Vanderbilt right now? I forget his name.
Clark Lee.
Clark Lee.
Clark Lee. Well,
He should go to Penn State,
I'd rather have Clark Lee than Franklin.
and then James Franklin go back to Vanderbilt.
Well, this isn't Vandy choosing to move on from Clark Lee.
It would be
Vandy
Clark Lee
losing
choosing to
Clark
move on
Lee.
from Vanderbilt.
Whatever, man. I think James Franklin can do it.
Nah, he can't. He can't win the big games until he beats Penn State. Or wait,
He already beat Penn State. What do you mean?
until
Beat Penn
he
State into
beats
the ground.
Ohio State, it's not doable. Indiana's going to win the national championship, and that's all that matters.
I'm rooting for Indiana. Though.
It's going to be
100%.
Indiana versus the Navy midshipmen in the semifinals, and then Indiana is going to beat Texas Tech in the Natty.